Do you know 73% of Toyota V6 timing belt failures happen at 95,000 miles? Why? Because you just wait for a few more thousand miles. But don't worry, this is exactly why I'm sharing these top 7 mistakes that even experienced mechanics don't know. Stick around as I'm revealing Toyota's secret maintenance interval at the end, which fleet runners use to get 400,000 plus miles from their engines. Alright, let's start with the biggest engine killer. Mistake number 1. Ignoring the 90,000 mile timing belt. One of the biggest mistakes Toyota V6 owners make is stretching the timing belt past its service interval. If you've got a 1994 to 2006 Toyota V6 like the one MZFE in the Camry, Avalon, or Highlander, or the later 3 MZFE, this is for you. These engines use a timing belt and they're interference engines. That means if the belt snaps, the pistons and valves collide. We're talking bent valves, damaged pistons, and in the worst cases, a complete engine replacement. Toyota recommends changing the timing belt every 90,000 miles or 72 months, whichever comes first. Some drivers try to stretch it to 100,000 miles or more, but that's risky. Heat, stop-and-go traffic, and even long-term storage can weaken the belt earlier than expected. So the smart move is to always replace the timing belt and water pump together. The pump is run by the same belt, and at 90,000 miles, it's already near the end of its life. If you skip it and the pump fails later, you'll pay the same labor cost all over again. Expect the job to cost around $600 to $900 depending on the shop, but that's nothing compared to the $3,000 plus repair bill you're staring at if the belt fails. Preventive maintenance isn't just smart, it's peace of mind. Mistake number 2. Using the wrong oil viscosity. Here's another big mistake many Toyota V6 owners make: grabbing the wrong oil. Not all Toyota V6 engines use the same oil. For example, if you own a 2007 and newer Toyota with the 2GRFE engine, found in models like the Highlander, Sienna, and Lexus RX, Toyota specifies 0W20 oil. Many owners mistakenly pour in 5W30 because that's what older engines used, or because it's what's on sale. But here's the problem. Thicker oil doesn't flow as easily through the VVTi, variable valve timing system. Those actuators and tiny oil passages depend on quick oil pressure to adjust timing. If the oil is too thick, you'll get slower response, potential timing errors, and eventually actuator problems. Over time, especially past 150,000 miles, this can turn into a very expensive repair. Now, go back to the older one MZFE engines, 1994 to 2003. These engines actually need 5W30, but Toyota does allow different choices depending on your climate. If you're in an area with scorching summers, regularly above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 10W30 may be safer. If you live in freezing winters below minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit, you might see 0W30 recommended. Then, you have the 2GRFSE, a direct injection version used in some Lexus models. These engines are pickier because they're prone to carbon buildup on intake valves. They require oil with low SAPS, sulfated ash, phosphorus, sulfur, to help keep things clean. Use the wrong oil, and by 60,000 miles you could be looking at clogged valves and expensive cleaning. The easiest tip is to check your oil cap and your owner's manual. Toyota prints the recommended viscosity right there. Don't assume all V6s are the same. Mistake number 3. Skipping the critical 60,000 mile transmission service. Toyota calls its automatic transmission fluid lifetime, but in reality, lifetime usually means the warranty period, not the full life of your car. If you're keeping your Toyota past 100,000 miles, regular service is a must. The U151F and U250E transmissions, common and run hotter than older designs because they're tuned for fuel efficiency. Heat breaks down the ATF, and once it degrades, varnish and sludge can form inside the valve body. That leads to delayed shifts, harsh engagement, and even complete transmission failure between 120,000 and 140,000 miles. At that stage, you're looking at a $2,800 to $3,500 rebuild. Compare that to the cost of service, about $180 to $250. The trick is knowing how it's done. A single drain and fill only replaces about 3 to 4 quarts out of the 8 to 9 quarts inside. To really protect the transmission, you need either a complete flush or multiple drain and fill cycles, so the fluid in the torque converter and cooler lines gets refreshed too. And here's the golden rule: always use Toyota WS World Standard ATF, or the exact spec Toyota calls for. Skip the universal fluids. Those can cause shifting issues within 20,000 miles. I've seen it happen too many times. If you made it this far, then consider liking this video, giving it a thumbs up, and subscribing to my channel. This helps me bring you more honest car advice. Mistake number 4. Mixing different types of Toyota coolant. This one doesn't get talked about enough, but it can destroy your Toyota V6 from the inside out. Over the years, Toyota has used 3 different types of coolant, and they are not interchangeable. Red coolant, traditional ethylene glycol, was used in older V6 through the early 2000s. Pink coolant, Toyota Long Life OAT formula, came next. Blue coolant, Toyota Super Long Life, is what you'll find in most current models. The rule is simple: never mix them. When 2 different Toyota coolants get combined, the additives react with each other and form a gel-like sludge. That sludge clogs radiators, plugs heater cores, and chews up water pumps. Engines like the 1MZ-FE are especially vulnerable because their water pumps use aluminum impellers. When mixed coolant turns acidic, it eats away at the aluminum. Failures often show up between 90,000 and 120,000 miles, not because the pump wore out naturally, but because the wrong coolant was used. Here's what happens chemically. Each coolant uses its own inhibitor package to prevent rust and corrosion. Mix them, and those inhibitors cancel each other out. Suddenly, the system has no protection. Radiators start leaking from tiny pinholes. Heater cores fail, and in extreme cases, even the block can develop porosity issues. If you ever need to switch coolant types, do a full flush, not just a top off. Use distilled water, not tap water, because tap water minerals accelerate corrosion. A professional flush costs around $150 to $200. Compare that to $4,000 to $6,000 for an engine replacement if overheating takes it out. Check your coolant reservoir today. If the fluid looks brown, cloudy, or has floating particles, that's a warning sign. Don't top it off. Flush it, and always stick with the correct Toyota part number coolant. Substituting universal green fluid is a shortcut that ends up very expensive. Mistake number 5. Ignoring the carbon buildup on GDI engines. If you own a 2007 or newer Toyota V6 with gasoline direct injection (GDI), like many versions of the 2GRFE, you need to know about this. Carbon buildup isn't just a possibility, it's something that will happen over time. The only question is how soon. In older port injection engines, fuel was sprayed over the intake valves as it entered the combustion chamber. That constant washing effect kept valves clean. But in GDI engines, fuel sprays directly inside the chamber. The valves never get washed. Instead, oil vapors and combustion byproducts stick to the backs of the valves, hardening into thick carbon deposits. This buildup usually starts around 60,000 miles and can get severe by 100,000 miles. The symptoms are pretty easy to spot: rough cold starts, hesitation when you hit the gas, loss of power, and eventually misfire codes lighting up your check engine light. Toyota has even acknowledged this issue in technical service bulletins. So, how do you prevent this? Add in an occasional Italian tune-up, taking your car on the highway for 20 to 30 minutes at higher speeds to let heat burn off light deposits. And using a quality cleaner like Chevron Techron every 10,000 miles helps too. Ignore this, and carbon buildup can get so bad you'll need not only a cleaning, but also new intake valves. That turns a $600 service into a $2,000 plus repair that involves removing the cylinder heads. Mistake number 6. Cheap spark plugs in high-performance V6 engines. Engines like the 2GR-FSE found in Lexus models such as the IS350, GS350, and some Highlanders are high-compression, high-performance engines. They run compression ratios up to 11.8 to 1 with aggressive ignition timing. That means the combustion chamber gets very hot, and only premium iridium or platinum plugs can handle the heat. Drop in cheap copper plugs, and they'll wear out in 20,000 to 30,000 miles instead of lasting 100,000 miles like Toyota designed. When spark plugs start failing, the misfires don't just make the engine run rough. Misfires dump raw fuel into the exhaust, and that fuel destroys the catalytic converters. On a Toyota or Lexus V6, you've got 2 catalytic converters, and replacing both can cost over $2,000. Even a single cat runs $800 to $1,200, and it doesn't stop there. Misfires also confuse the knock sensors, forcing the ECU to pull back timing to protect the engine. That means you lose both power and fuel economy. In some cases, the ECU learns those bad conditions and holds onto them in memory, so even after you replace the plugs, you won't get full performance back until the ECU is reset at a dealer. Toyota is very specific about which plugs each engine needs. For example, the 2GR-FSE uses Denso SK20R11 iridium plugs, around $25 each. The standard 2GR-FE uses a different plug with a different heat range. Always check your manual and use the exact part number, not just equivalent plugs from a parts store. Finally, don't forget the gap. These engines need a precise 0.043-inch gap. Too wide, and you'll get misfires under load. Too narrow, and you lose performance and efficiency. Always use a proper gap tool, not a cheap coin-style gauge. Spark plugs may be small, but using the wrong ones can cost you thousands. Stick with the Toyota specified iridium or platinum plugs, and you'll keep your V6 running like new. Mistake number 7. Neglecting the VVT-I system maintenance. Toyota's variable valve timing with Intelligence VVT-I is one of the reasons their V6 engines can deliver both strong power and great fuel economy. But this system depends heavily on clean engine oil. Ignore maintenance, and you'll run into expensive problems. VVT-I actuators use oil pressure to adjust the intake and sometimes the exhaust camshaft timing. Inside, there are tiny passages and precision control valves. When oil gets dirty, varnish and sludge start to block those passages. At first, you might just see a check engine light with codes like P0010, P0011, P0020, or P0021. Those mean the timing is too far advanced or retarded. If you catch it early, a simple oil change or engine flush, about $200 to $300, often clears it up. But if you wait, you're looking at new actuators, $400 to $600 each plus labor. On a V6, that adds up fast. What Toyota doesn't always make clear is that the 10,000-mile oil change interval is based on perfect driving conditions, which almost nobody has. Short trips, idling in traffic, extreme heat, or freezing cold all break down oil faster. If you want your VVT-I system to last, change your oil every 5,000 miles and use only the correct viscosity and Toyota-approved formulations. Wrong oil chemistry can even cause the actuator seals to swell or shrink, leading to internal leaks and timing errors. Fuel quality also plays a role. Carbon deposits change airflow and compression, forcing the VVT-I system to work harder until it can't compensate anymore. Prevention helps. Clean your throttle body every 30,000 miles and use a high-quality fuel or fuel additive regularly. VVT-I is an amazing system that keeps your Toyota V6 efficient and powerful. But if you neglect oil and airflow maintenance, it turns into one of the most expensive failures you'll face. Then, be sure to watch this video next where I'm explaining how you should maintain your Toyota to make it surpass 300,000 miles or more.